Next up, John Farley is GIS Manager for the NC Department of Transportation. In addition to his day job, he serves on the North Carolina Geographic Information Coordinating Council and chairs the State Government GIS User Committee. Busy guy.
Yeah, I'll use it. So, thank you. I'm going to really basically just cover how to get spatial data from NCDOT, where to find it. And this will cover the majority of spatial information that we publish and produce, as well as some services. There are shape files that are still out there on different websites within DOT here and there, but for the most part, if you're looking for spatial information, this is what I'm about to show you is the place to go. So we've spent a lot of time, energy, and effort. We have a group that's devoted to working on what we call GoNC, which is our portal. It is based on ArcGIS Online, and you can discover a wide range of services there, both data service, map services, as well as actual maps themselves to interact with. The way we've put the site out and published it is when you see an owner, because you can publish anything on the web, as everybody knows. And you can call it whatever you want to call it and say who owns it, whoever owns it, owns it. If you're using GoNC or ArcGIS Online and you're getting a data set and it says owner ncdot.gov, that's an authoritative source. That's a source published from North Carolina DOT. You may see other letters in front of that. For example, the one, if you look here under owner, that's our mitigation unit. And they each, so they have their own account, but it always ends at ncdot.gov. And this is an example of some of the services, and we can split it out so you're looking at map services. So if you want to just interact with data or create your own map online using the tools that are available in GoNC, you can do that. If you prefer, you just want to discover the service and bring it into your own client, whatever it may be, you can do that as well. So one of the things that we're also looking at going beyond just the data is more mobility. So we're trying to leverage some of the mobile clients out there. And this, if you Explorer for ArcGIS, interacts very well with the site, and you can interact with the data almost as well as you can from a PC, given the form factor. We have also started implementing some analysis tools. So it's not just I can view the data now or I can access the data, but now I want to start analyzing the data. So we've started rolling out some other tools. You may have seen a presentation we gave yesterday on our straight line diagramming tool. That actually allows you, it's based on Road Analyzer, to go in and start analyzing some of the roads in North Carolina. That data set that feeds the Road NC or SDL viewer, that is a daily update of the system. So right now, if you go and look at our data in GoNC, we publish quarterly. And there's when we do our quarterly publication, there's a lot of product that's developed off of that requires a lot of geoprocessing, manipulation of data, and then the products are generated and published. Well, now that we have a tool that will allow us to look at dynamically segmented data on the fly, we can now publish out the data that we update on a regular basis and allow you to look at those events without having to segment everything out into individual segments. So for example, we maintain 68 events on top of the roads, 68 different things, speed limit, pavement type, all that kind of fun stuff. If we break the road and every time an event changes, and one of those 68 events changes, we end up with 1 million segments. A little hard to maintain and manage or even analyze, but we do, and we publish it. Now, unfortunately, when I say it's the daily update, it is not the state of the road that day. It is what we've last entered that day. And the tool that we're using to maintain the roads is still in implementation phase, let's say, and we're hoping to have it up and most of our backlog drawn down by the end of the year. We have about 2 years worth of backlog. The initial plan was 6 to 8 months, and that got a little out of whack. So we also have I guess you'd say, more traditional way of accessing data. If you just want to go in and download a data set from our Connect site, which is the primary web presence, if you will, for NCDOT, you can, on the left, right here, that will take you to our data download page. So all the different data sets, I want the shapefile, I want the geodatabase, I want the metadata, whatever, it's all available right there. You can also access Go and See, which I've obviously just talked about, from that page as well. So if you've done any kind of transportation work, that's actually funny. So obviously there's nobody in the room that's done any transportation work. That's what the federal government calls roads. They call it carriageways. So some of the things that we're looking at moving forward, and we just saw a good example of, is I'd like to get away from publishing separately geodatabases for download and then services over here, so that eventually we're just publishing services and you clip and ship. If you just want a piece or you want the whole thing, you do it from whatever tool you're viewing, or from the interface that you're viewing it from. We're also starting to add routing services on top of the statewide data set that we've built out. One of our business units, oversized overweight vehicles, which is not an indictment on the size necessarily of anything. It is routing of large trucks across our roads. And in order to do that, we need a routing service. So we're started building our routing services in-house, and eventually we'd like to publish that out to the world as a routing service based on our center line, and also make that available then through our portal. We're also starting to look at geocoding services, working with NextGen 911. They have requirements for addressing. We have center lines, so there's a natural, and pardon the French here, synergy between the two to allow us to hopefully potentially build out a geocoding service that, again, we can then offer back out to North Carolina. Right now we're going back through our strategic plan to so let me back up a second. We'd like to hear from you, and I'm going to show you a slide where how you can contact us. These are some of the things that we're looking at moving forward based on what we hear from our business customers. We'd like to hear from anybody that has ideas, because we're right now revisiting our strategic plans within the individual groups within GIS and then overall for GIS. And so to help us move forward, especially when it comes to some of the technology and some of the solutions we've seen here at the conference. So GIS help at ncdot.gov. If you're using any of our tools, that's where you go to get help. If you have questions, comments, if you see any data that doesn't have metadata, let us know. If you see something that's not correct, please let us know. And I think right now I'll take questions, and I'll leave this slide up on the board as long as possible in case anybody wants to write down that address up there. Questions? Wow, cool. All right, thank you.